Hey there, it's Pat from PJM Scheduling Services. So today we're going to import some resources from an Excel sheet into Primavera P6. So say we have our P6 file here, and basically what I did was I dumped this data into an Excel file and added some columns for budgeted labor units, non-labor units, really the material type and the resource type that we're going to be assigning. So say you kind of sent this Excel file to some people on your project and they provided, I would be surprised if they provide it in this neat of condition, but hey, miracles can happen. So they send it back and they provide the labor hours that are used on some of the activities, and they provide the material quantities for each activity. So now what we want to do is we want to get this information into our P6 schedule. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to add these resources into our P6 schedule. So right now my resource library in P6 only includes a cost resource. So I need to add the earthwork resource. Basically, I just need to add these, the resources that I want to assign. I need to have those in my library to begin with. Concrete resource, envelope resource, and then the last one we need is like a labor hour resource. So labor hours. So let's go ahead and outdent these because I don't want them all like parent-child relationships. So let's go ahead and outdent all of those. Our resource type, all of these should be material, but my labor should be in a labor type of resource. You have your different resource types: labor, non-labor, and material. So I want a labor hour, and then the rest of these are material. So here under material, I want a unit of measure, which if your database doesn't have any, basically you need admin privileges. So here's the admin tab, go to admin categories, and unit of measure is down here, and we're just going to add one for cubic yards, and then we're going to add another one for square feet. Okay. So let's go ahead, and earthwork is going to be cubic yards. I'm going to fill that down, and then my labor doesn't get a unit of measure. Oops. Actually, envelope should be square feet, not cubic yards. Excuse me. My default units per time, I'm going to make that 0 because if it has a default units per time that's greater than 0, it's going to multiply that default times your duration, and it's going to spit out automatically a quantity and assign that as your labor hour or material amount. So we want that to be 0, and we also want calculate cost from units to be unchecked because we don't want the cost calculated automatically either when we assign the resource. So we have our resource library all cleaned up. Now what we want to do is we want to assign those, we want to create an import template like we've done in the past, and that we're going to copy our information over to. So what we do there is we export this file, export as an Excel file, just do resource assignments, that's all we need. Go ahead and export this, and when you create your template, all you really need is activity ID, the resource ID, and the budgeted units. The other columns get included automatically, but really those 3 items are all we need in order to do this import. So go ahead and press OK, next, finish. And let's go ahead and take a look at what that file looks like. So we have activity ID and resource ID. I mean, you can see here, I'm going to get rid of my activity status column because I don't need that, and my role ID and my cost account, I don't need that. Really all I need is these 3 columns: activity ID, resource ID, budgeted units. So I can take this file here, and I need to clean this file up so that it matches the formatting of my, I can copy it into this. So I just need to clean up the IDs, copy over the resource IDs and the budgeted units. So what I like to do is I just do a filter for this data up here, and I'm going to delete all of my blank rows. So let's select just our blank rows here, and I'm going to delete all of those rows so that we're only dealing with the rows that we want to import. So let's refilter for those items. So this is all I want to import here. Let's go ahead and clean up these IDs, because you can't have any leading spaces, or your IDs have to match exactly what's in your schedule file. Really, all the data has to match exactly what's in your schedule file. So the function I like to use is called trim. We're going to trim that ID, and that just removes all of the leading spaces. I'm going to double click that. So that cleans those up. So now I'm going to copy these IDs into my template over here. So there they are right there. I need my resource IDs, which are right here. And keep in mind that these resource IDs match exactly what is in my library as my resource IDs. They cannot be different whatsoever, or else this import won't work. So I'm going to copy those, and I'm going to paste those values. And I like to use paste values when I'm doing this, just so I know there's no formulas that are in these cells. Because, for instance, when we used our trim formula, I don't want to have it say trim B2, when I copy it over, or else the importing from Excel to P6, P6 doesn't like formulas in your, it'll create an error message. So we got those. We need our budgeted units now. So this is we're doing our material quantities first. So let's go here and we can grab our material quantities. Go ahead and paste those in. And then now what you'll notice is missing is my labor hours. So all of these labor hours are going to be a different resource as a labor resource. So basically what I need to do is I can copy these IDs down. I can call this my labor resource. Copy that down, and remember that labor ID matches exactly what is in my P6 database here, labor. Okay. And then going back to this file, I'm going to copy my hours over to here. All right, paste those. So now I have everything that I need for this import. Let's go ahead and save that file. Close that, go back to P6, and let's go ahead and import that information here. Resource import. Update existing project, yes. Select your current project that you have open. And perfect. So that all got imported in. And if it didn't, do it on the first time. Import it twice, because in some cases it'll assign the resource the first time, and then on the second import it assigns the actual values of that resource. So if it didn't work the first time, run 2 imports, and it should work then. Another thing you'll notice, the budgeted non-labor unit says 0. That's because we used materials for a material resource. So the way to see that information is go to the resource assignments here, and you can see you have the resource types, the activities underneath, and then you have the values over a timeline where those material quantities are being used. But you can see here, if I clicked on earthwork and I looked at the activity details, I see here I have 4,000. Well, 4,000 what? And well, it says here price per unit in cubic yards. So I think you can have unit type, maybe unit of measure. So it says cubic yards, so I know, okay, that's 4,000 cubic yards. And likewise for the envelope, we have square feet, so that's our 1,000 square feet of material that's being installed. So that's how you do the import. I guess the last point that I would make is our labor hours, our quantities were in hours. And one of the mistakes that I see is if you have your user preferences set to, if you go to your time units and your unit format is set to days, all right, if you run the import as hours, it's going to auto convert that, it's going to assume that you meant days, because that's how your P6 is set up. So just make sure that if you're running an import and you want it in hours, make sure that your user preferences are set to the unit of time, which is under this time units here, the top one. Make sure that's set for hours. And then likewise, if you wanted to do, your units in days, then you'd have to convert your Excel file that way. So anyhow, hope that helps. Leave a comment down below if you have any thoughts or questions. But yeah, let me know if you have any thoughts or questions. All right, thanks. Bye.